Your consciousness is sent back to when you were at age 15. And you maintain all of your current knowledge and experience. What do you do? Well, knowing me, I don't make the stupid choices I made for the past 31 years. But also knowing me, I would make totally different stupid choices. Because I'm human. Just because I could now avoid the traps I had fallen into back then. This does not mean I would not fall into different traps. But hopefully the sum total would be a better life. I know there are career changes I would make. There are financial decisions I would do a better job with. For instance, on the day I graduated college, Apple stock sold for 15 cents a share. If I had bought 5,000 worth of Apple stock that day, I could sell that today for $4.6 million. So there's that. Best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. Second best time is today. Warn my grandma that she has cancer that will kill her in 9 years because they caught it too late. I think about this and my mom's cancer, but then I wonder what would the other paths be. Would she die sooner? Much later? More painfully? Without me having a chance to say goodbye? Focus on high school a bit better. Try and keep in touch with my best friend at that time a bit better after she moved across town. Talk with my dad more about family and stuff. Apologize for being a little shit in middle school more. Figure out my major a lot faster. I'd actually focus less. I was the kid that broke myself just for a small ledge into college. I really could have been more well-rounded person with less breakdown levels of stress. Save more money. Take better care of my teeth. Not eat as much junk. Not date people who are just a waste of time. Not worry as much. Appreciate the irreplaceable things more. Not say some mean wrong things I said. Choose a different career path. I was in my freshman year of high school. I'd go back and relive those years being completely and totally myself, like I should have done way back when. If I could go back to high school as a 15-year-old while retaining the level of IJAF that I have achieved now at 45, that would be magical. I would rule that school. And ironically, you wouldn't really give a duck about ruling it. Man, life really gets you coming and going, doesn't it? Youth is wasted on the young. Smashing pumpkin someone else. Probably. Take better care of my teeth. Edit. Wow. Thanks for the awards. Looking back, I wish it had been explained that cavities were growing holes in my teeth and not something invasive like a bacteria. A million times yes. Knowing about acid erosion as well as tooth decay would save a lot of future pain and dentist bills. You know, gingivitis is the #1 cause of our tooth decay. Don't date my first girlfriend. Try to maintain friendships while moving. Take college more seriously. Buy Bitcoin. Hug my grandparents more often. I have a friend that has a weekly call to his grandparents, and I'd do that. At one point, I had a 55 minute commute home from work in the early morning. The commute in was only about 35 minutes. I got in the habit of calling my grandpa once a week during that time. We often didn't talk long, but that didn't matter. I recall at a birthday party for him that he introduced me to some friends as the grandson who calls me. I'm not sure I had ever felt more proud from anything he had ever said than I did at that moment. He was one of my heroes growing up in still is, even though he is no longer with us. Honestly, just the knowledge that lots of the shit 15-year-old me was agonizing over and worrying about ultimately didn't bring about the end of the world would help. I'd know which things to stress about and which ones I could let go of. Just know that eventually everyone's face is a blurred memory. It's so weird being just 10 years out of HS and realizing people I saw every single day for my whole life till graduation ceased to exist immediately. Not oh, I just don't worry about that dude anymore. We weren't that close. You literally forget they ever existed until you look at your yearbook or something. I'm 50, so much older, but I don't have problems with memory or anything. Well, as far as I know, still. I was cleaning out my mom's house and found a local paper that had a picture of me and story about me winning an engineering competition and how well our team did overall. I literally cannot remember even being on the team, let alone winning that competition. I have racked my brain and I have no recollection at all. It's just gone. One good dental hygiene floss. Brush twice a day always. 2. Make exercise a part of the day. It is harder to get this into routine as you get older. Plus the fitter you are when you're younger, the more it will tide you through when older. 3. Continue pursuing things that I find interesting, even if I'm not and will never get good at them. It is wonderful to have things to enjoy for the sake of it. 4. Be nicer to my parents, especially my mum. It is a lot of responsibility, and they did their best. 5. Take feedback and criticism in stride, and not let every negative thing make me question everything. Edit. This is my most upvoted comment and I have genuinely enjoyed every reply here. I feel very happy and connected to so many people. What a nice day. 15-year-old here. Good dental hygiene floss. Brush twice a day, always. Reddit is actually the main reason I've started to care about my dental hygiene. I finally started taking care of my teeth again. Make exercise a part of the day. It is harder to get this into routine as you get older. Plus the fitter you are when you're younger, the more it will tide you through when older. Been running every day for the past couple of months, and I lost weight, so I'm pretty good on the health front. Continue pursuing things that I find interesting, even if I'm not and will never get good at them. It is wonderful to have things to enjoy for the sake of it. Yes, I'm playing bass in a rock band right now, and even though I know it'll never go anywhere, it's a ton of fun and has probably saved the relationship me and my 2 best friends have with each other. Be nicer to my parents, especially my mum. It is a lot of responsibility, and they did their best. This one I have to work on. Take feedback and criticism in stride, and not let every negative thing make me question everything. Again, have to work on this one. Getting better, but still needs some work. Try to convince my dad to short airline stocks in about a year. Gamble a lot on sports. I'm going to guess it's generational, but I like how foursome the answer is by Bitcoin and others like this. I'll gamble on sports, and I think the difference is whether you've seen Back to the Future or not. Haha, you might be onto something there. I go straight to the cops and report my father for abuse. I made the exact same comment. My father murdered the rest of my family that year. I could have stopped it if I had reported the violence. Okay, if I get the opportunity to send my mind back in time, I'll give it to you. I'm hugging my grandfather for a solid 5 minutes. My grandmother passed away today. I didn't spend enough time with her. I feel like I don't really know her. I don't know how to deal with this feeling. I take my little brother to the hospital because he has a tumor that no one knows about. I tell my dad that he shouldn't sell his company because we end up homeless. I buy Bitcoin. I live with my family and appreciate them. I go to an IHOP many years later and find the waitress. I ask her on a date. Hopefully I can keep both my families this time. Find the waitress. I ask her on a date. The Charlie Gambit. Be single and lonely for a while. Holy shit, do I not want anything to do with most high schoolers. Yeah, a lot of people have remarked on the creep factor of being an adult in a kid's body dating kids, and that's 100% true. But even aside from that, I just can't imagine remotely wanting to even be with somebody who looks or acts 15 or even 18 after waiting a few years into the hypothetical. Edit. Of course, my most upvoted comment would be about time travel creeps. I'm just glad it's NT. I live in a college town and the students look like actual children to me now at 31. Yeah, I remember thinking I and my friends were totally and obviously adults at 18. A while ago, I'm now in my 30s. I went to a university open day and found myself looking at all the 18-year-olds there like, who let all these children into this university? It is the completely opposite for me. When I was 18, I was thinking, wait, I'm still just a kid. These 22-year-olds look like adults. Then I turned 22 and looked at 25-year-olds and thought of them as adults. Now I'm 29 and I still don't feel like an adult. Maybe it's just because I don't behave that way, but I'm also kind of happy about it. Stop my brother from killing himself. Edit. I put this comment with no thought and fell asleep almost immediately afterward. Thank you all so much for the overwhelming support. I still miss him so much more than I ever knew was possible, but it helps to think that he's no longer suffering the same kind of agony he was. And to the person that asked why and deleted their comment, burn in heck. Edit to I read through all the comments, and I can't muster the strength to reply to them all. But I love you all, and I hope that one day we can all find true peace, and that if there is an afterlife and a god, or gods, I hope they are helping our loved ones see us through this until we can see them again. Buy up domain names and sell them after internet gets more mainstream. I remember reading that f.com sold to Facebook for about $7 million. Not bad. And Bitcoin. I would get all the Bitcoin. Buy Amazon stock. A lot of it. And then start a long-term friend zone relationship with Mackenzie Scott only to bide my time. In 2021. That's when I make my move to finally kick our relationship to the next level. First I'd break up with my girlfriend at the time. 1. It wasn't a good relationship. Both of us did some ducked up shit that only inexperienced people would. 2. I would be 25 in mind and she'd be 15. I would be 25 in mind and she'd be 15. Gah, holy heck, I hadn't considered that. Now, think about all the crazy popular romantic vamp fiction that has 300 plus yo dudes hanging around in schools. And try not to vomit. UHH. Watch my dad die all over again, I guess. Since by my 15th birthday it was already too late to treat his cancer. Miss my kids. Knowing they'll never exist. Buy some Bitcoin, I guess. And overdose on cocaine on the yacht that I keep in the pool of my other yacht. I wouldn't be too afraid to report my father to the authorities. I wouldn't live life in fear of his hands. I would fight back like I never did. I'd want to tweak a few things. Hit the pricks who messed with me. Kiss the girl when I should've. Spent more time with my old man. Little things. I'd live in existential dread that somehow, somewhere I'd mess something up in the chain of events that led to me meeting my wife and the subsequent birth of my children. Life without my children would destroy me, utterly. Get some Bitcoin. Put a lot of effort into regularly working out. Learn professional cooking skills so I can whip up fancy food for myself. Stop caring about what anyone thinks. I think the truth is, if this were to happen, the results would turn out to be bittersweet. It's easy to solve past problems in our minds, and maybe those solutions would actually work in a time travel scenario. But life adapts and new, unexpected situations always show up. So I'd probably end up running into another problem further down the line and regretting a different decision. There's a lot of comments in this thread about taking advantage of financial decisions. Maybe I'd become a Bitcoin billionaire, but who's to say that I wouldn't suffer the same fate as lottery winners? Taxes, bankruptcy, fake friends, etc. Everyone saying what they'd do better while I'd be having a total mental breakdown. Can you imagine going back to living with your parents? Waking up at 6 AM to get a bus, to be in class at 8 AM, taking exams again, having to study all over again. I have nightmares about this. Please no. I'd rather stay an adult, please. You'd probably be a complete weirdo too. Everyone else is 15, while you're much older mentally, and you know what's gonna happen. And you treat people you shouldn't know weird, because you actually do know them. Lose fat. Start lifting weights and running. Play less video games. Sleep more. School better. Experience more risky stuffs. Try to attain my driver's license earlier. Live a better life. Save up my allowance. Buy Bitcoin. Same top answer every time it gets asked. You love to see it. That's too late. Mistakes have already been made. I wouldn't go to university. Possibly travel more and spend a bit more time deciding the direction I want to go with my life. Prosecute my ex-boyfriend for raping me. Call CPS on my mom and actually give information this time. Everything else can stay the same. Mistakes and all. But if I could do it again, I'd do those two things differently. Take a different course in college. It perhaps. Stay off the internet. Be more open and social. Work on my interpersonal skills. Build connections. Build a better relationship with my family. I'd be terrified. I hadn't met the love of my life then. I'd be scared I'd change things and end up never meeting him. People here are getting rich or saving lives, but I'm 100% using this as an opportunity to deploy all the clever responses I came up with hours later in response to various people. I still have a lot of them memorized thanks to my brain's love of reviewing stupid things I've said and done over the decades late at night, so I feel pretty prepared. Get the heck out of my small town and roam the world. The same thing I do every night. Try and take over the world. Tell my parents to go duck themselves and get the apprenticeship I want. 1. I immediately write down every financially advantageous date and event I can possibly remember. All of them Benny babies to Bitcoin. 2. Give that information to my parents, but I know they'll need convincing that the info is good. 3. Tell them things about themselves and thoughts they've shared with adult me about themselves in different stages of life that 15-year-old me couldn't possibly know. Tell them minor predictions like ball game outcomes and what will happen on TV shows before they air. They need to know what I say is worth listening to. 4. Go back to school and be very confused about who I should find attractive, what's allowed versus what's wise, and get absolutely bogged down in the deeper implications of what it all means. 5. Struggle again to find meaningful relationships among my peers, but this time it's because I'm mentally an adult and hanging out with kids, or weirding out adults because I prefer adult company to that of kids. Again, struggling with the ethical values of attraction. 6. Find myself in fairly consistent trouble with teachers because my consciousness is that of an adult and you can't unring that bell. Every idle and arbitrary word that they can get away with in a classroom full of kids becomes a labor for me. 7. Having done all I can to secure my family's immediate financial future, I begin working on their psychological stability and mental well-being. Nothing so overt as offering counseling, though. Just little nudges in the right directions. 8. Realizing that I already possess the knowledge to ensure whatever standard of living I want takes a lot of pressure off of learning. I finally start to connect with my schooling and learn algebra for the first time. 9. Profit, prosper, peace. Be the first person to repost this ducking question.